Let's bring in constitutional law attorney Jonathan Turley. Jonathan, just from a housekeeping perspective, because of the immigration case or the birthright citizenship case was done on appeal, that might not come out today at the end of this session. So how, do you think, well, it might come out today, but if it doesn't, why is that?
Might, yes. Well, this was really an outlier. The court added it very late. It's fairly irregular for that to happen, but this is an important, if not momentous, decision that the court has to make. You know, what President Trump is objecting to has been a point of objection from Democratic and Republican presidents. Even Justice Kagan, during the Obama administration, said that it was really crazy that individual judges could essentially freeze the entire federal government. The court's going to have to make a decision of whether they want to impose some limits on that. One is that if you want to stop everything nationwide, you need to have a nationwide class action. You need to establish you represent people nationwide. So that's one of the options.
So, Jonathan, the Trump administration has obviously been incredibly frustrated with these local district court judges issuing these injunctions that block their agenda nationwide. And the Trump administration this time around has been hammered with them. We can pull up this graphic. You take a look at how it compares to past years. You know, President Bush in his first term only had 6. Obama had 12. Trump in his first term had 64. Look where we're at right now with Trump 2.0, 40 in just 5 months. So, Jonathan, if SCOTUS decides to side with the Trump administration, what would essentially happen here? Say if a Boston federal judge makes a ruling, that ruling would then only apply to the District of Massachusetts. Is that how it would work?
That's right. Unless that judge, Bill, can establish some type of national class action or some other standard that the court will impose today, potentially with a decision. And the key here is that, you know, presidents have really objected to these Lilliputian attacks, that they've got to run the table. They've got to make sure that not one of 670 district court judges wants to stop immigration policy. And that makes it unworkable, because by the time the presidents can reverse these orders, they're often in the middle or later in their term. And they have very limited time to carry out their pledges from the election.
It's so interesting. And yesterday, the Department of Justice sued all of the federal judges in Maryland, alleging this judicial overreach. I've never seen anything like that. What do you think will happen here?
Yeah, Dana, I'm perplexed by that order of the chief judge in Maryland. It's sort of a Red Queen justice who used to give a sentence before a verdict. Here you get an injunction before a hearing on whether you should get an injunction. And I think that the Trump administration has a good point. And they say, look, where does this authority come from? You know, the Congress has laid out the grounds by which immigration cases can be stayed or reversed. In this case, the court is saying, we don't know what these people are arguing, but we're just going to stay them all. And I think that does raise a legitimate objection by the administration.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, we've got about 30 seconds left here. Just want to flag what Justice Samuel Alito said at one point. Actually, it's a soundbite. Take a listen.
The practical problem is that there are 680 district court judges, and they are dedicated and they are scholarly, and I'm not impugning their motives in any way, but you know, sometimes they're wrong.
Sometimes they're wrong, Jonathan. Final word to you, 15 seconds.
I think he's right there. And by the way, all eyes are on Justice Alito and Justice Thomas, because on the last day of the session, we often have announcements of retirements. And so there's always the sweepstakes as to whether anyone is going to make that move today.
I just was explaining to Bill Malugin how one of the ways I got my big start in Washington was the day that Sandra Day O'Connor announced her retirement. That was 2005.
Who's counting?
Okay, I'm doing the math there
counting?
in my head a long time ago. All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jonathan.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.